Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're your shortcut to getting genuinely well informed, skipping that mountain of research. Today, we're diving deep into something that, okay, maybe sounds a bit niche at first, the global stainless steel valves market. But stick with us because it's actually foundational, surprisingly dynamic, and tells us a lot about the global economy. We're using exclusive data for this, straight from Cognitive Market Research.
That's right. And, stainless steel valves might not scream excitement initially, but our mission here is really to show you how understanding this specific market, it's like a lens, right? A lens into global industrial health, into where infrastructure is really developing. These numbers, they help connect the dots. They show where real growth and investment are actually happening worldwide.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Starting big picture, the global view. This market for stainless steel valves, it's looking at some really strong growth, isn't it? Our source pegs it at, what, $3.77 billion roughly back in 2021?
Yeah, precisely. 300 and 765.48 million to be exact.
Okay, and projected to climb to nearly $7.7 billion by 2033.
680.47 million dollars, yeah. That's a compound annual growth rate, a CAGR of 6.12%. Pretty healthy.
6% plus. So what's really pushing that consistent expansion? It feels, quite specific.
It's a great question. And what's fascinating here is that this consistent growth, it's not random. It indicates really strong underlying demand. Our research points to, well, basically three main drivers. First, you've got massive infrastructural development happening globally. Think new power plants, water treatment facilities, pipelines.
Right, the big stuff.
Exactly. Second, there's this push towards increased industrial automation everywhere. More complex systems need more precise control. Valves are key. And finally, just steady, critical demand from core sectors. Oil and gas, manufacturing, water treatment. They always need these.
Why stainless steel specifically? What makes them indispensable there?
Good points about durability and resistance. Stainless steel resists corrosion. It can handle high pressures, extreme temperatures. They're kind of the quiet workhorses ensuring things flow safely, whether it's, drinking water or fuel or chemicals.
Makes perfect sense. The unsung heroes of heavy industry. Okay, now here's where I think it gets really interesting. Breaking it down by region, this really shows where the growth is heating up and maybe some surprises too.
Definitely. Let's start with North America. It's a big chunk of the market, no doubt. It was over $900 million in 2021, $900.48 million projected to hit $1.73 billion by 2033. That's a solid CAGR, about 5.5%.
Okay. And the U.S. is the giant there, I assume.
Oh, yeah. The U.S. dominates. $716 million in 21, heading towards $1.3 billion, CAGR around 5.2%. But what's really jumped out at us is Canada.
Oh.
Yeah, Canada's market is set to more than double. Its CAGR is predicted at over 7%.
Wow, 7%. That's quite a bit higher than the U.S.
It is almost 2 full points higher. It suggests pretty significant investments are happening there. Maybe large-scale resource projects like LNG terminals. They need tons of these valves.
Interesting. And Mexico?
Mexico's growing too, contributing nicely, though maybe at a more, let's say, moderate pace, around 4.5% CAGR.
Got it. Okay, let's hop across the Atlantic. Europe. How's it looking there? Also pretty robust, I gather.
Very much so. Europe's market was just over $1 billion in 2021. $143 million. And it's projected to reach over $2 billion by 2033. The CGR there is about 5.6%. Solid.
Any standouts within Europe? Germany, France?
Yeah, Germany and France are definitely major players, but the data actually highlights Italy and Russia.
Really?
Yeah, both showing a TGRs over 6%, actually 6.2% for Italy and 6.25% for Russia. A bit ahead of the regional average.
Okay.
The UK is substantial too, of course. And then there's a cluster of other European countries showing solid growth, mostly in that high 4 to high 5% range.
All right, now let's pivot to Asia Pacific, APAC. You mentioned this is where the story gets really dynamic.
Oh, absolutely. APAC is, well, it's the powerhouse here. It's not just the biggest market by size, almost $1.3 billion in 2021, but it also have the highest regional CAGR. We're talking 6.68%.
6.68%. Wow.
Yeah, it's expected to soar past $2.8 billion by 2033.
So who's driving that? China, Japan obviously must be huge markets.
They are. Definitely huge. China was nearly $390 million in 21. Japan over $230 million, big bases. But the fastest growth, that's where it gets fascinating. India leads the pack globally at the country level.
India.
India, highest country CAGR globally, over 7.2%, projected to go from $214 million to over $500 million.
He's incredible.
And right alongside India is Singapore. Almost identical high growth, 7.21% CAGR.
Singapore, too.
Australia is also very strong, over 7.1% CAGR. Suggests a lot of industrial activity down under. And then there's this category that the source labels rest of APAC.
Rest of APAC.
Yeah, basically the other perhaps smaller or emerging economies in the region lumped together. And get this, that category has a projected CAGR of 10.8%.
10.8. That's huge.
It's remarkable. It suggests incredibly rapid, maybe foundational industrialization happening in places that aren't always in the global headlines.
Like major new ports, smart cities, manufacturing booms, can be anything.
Exactly. Something big is clearly driving demand in those specific areas.
Wow, okay. That rest of APAC figure is definitely something to keep an eye on. Quickly then, South America. How does it fit in?
South America is also showing really strong potential, projected to more than double its market size by 2033. The overall CAGR there is impressive, 6.9%.
And within South America?
Argentina actually leads the growth rate charge at 7.4%. Colombia's right up there too. And Brazil, naturally, is a very substantial part of that market.
Okay. What about the Middle East? Often linked to oil and gas, so I imagine valves are crucial there.
Spot on. And the growth reflects that. The Middle East market is expanding at nearly 7% annually. The real standout there is the UAE, highest regional CR, almost 8%.
8% in the UAE.
Yeah, 7.997%. Its market set to more than double. Could be linked to their big investments in energy infrastructure, plus their role as a global trade hub. Lots of facilities needing precise flow control.
Makes sense. And Saudi Arabia, Turkey, also strong.
Yep, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and others showing robust growth as well.
All right. And finally, let's just briefly touch on Africa.
Africa shows steady growth. More moderate compared to some other regions, but consistent. The market's projected to grow from about $104 million to nearly $200 million by 2033. That's a CAGR of just over 5.2%.
Okay. And key players there.
Nigeria and South Africa are mentioned as leading the way in that region. So consistent expansion, just maybe at a different overall pace.
So if we pull all this together, connecting the dots, as you said earlier, what's the big takeaway from the source?
Yeah, if we connect this to the bigger picture, the source is really clear. This global stainless steel valves market, it's set for steady, really foundational global expansion. This isn't some kind of speculative bubble. It's directly tied to real-world economic activity. Keeps coming back to those core drivers. Infrastructure build out everywhere, more industrial automation, and that constant demand from essential sectors like oil and gas, manufacturing, water treatment. It's just a critical piece of the machinery of our modern global industry.
Right. So what does this all mean for you, our listener? Well, understanding these trends, even for something seemingly specific like stainless steel valves, it gives you really valuable clues about these bigger global economic shifts, where investment might be flowing, where industrialization is truly kicking into high gear around the world. It's just a great reminder, isn't it, that these small, specialized components, they're actually vital indicators of much larger, interconnected global stories. So to quickly sum up, the global stainless steel valves market, it's on a path of strong, consistent growth for the years ahead. And while pretty much everywhere is expanding, it really looks like Asia-Pacific is the region to watch, especially countries like India and Singapore and, yeah, that rest of APAC category. They seem poised to lead the pack in terms of just pure growth rate.
Exactly. And, this raises a really important question, something for you to think about maybe after this deep dive. How might these specific, really high growth rates we're seeing in places like India, Singapore, and particularly that booming rest of APAC, how might that reflect broader shifts in global industrial power? Are we seeing a rebalancing? And maybe what unique or massive infrastructure projects could possibly be fueling that kind of remarkable double-digit expansion in those rest of APAC regions? It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What specific industries must be absolutely booming in those fastest growing quarters of the world right now?
Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we take a whole stack of sources, pull out the absolute best bits, and lay it all out for you. Today, we're diving into something pretty fundamental, but, often totally unseen. Stainless steel valves. Think of them less like just industrial parts and more like these hidden heroes making sure everything, flows. Our infrastructure, our daily lives, they depend on this stuff. We've been going through this report, Stainless Steel Valves, Market Dynamics and Trends. Our goal, to basically pull out the key drivers, the roadblocks, and what's coming next for this really crucial market. Now, there's a slight quirk in the source material. We should mention some subheadings talk about the smart home solutions market, which is interesting. But the actual content, it's packed with great details on the big industrial uses, the broader picture for these valves. So we've kind of connected those dots for you. Ready to jump in. Okay, so let's kick things off. What's actually driving the demand here? our source titles this section Key Drivers for Smart Home Solutions Market. But like we said, insights are way broader, industrial scale.
What are those big forces?
Yeah, it's actually quite compelling. The demand is really solid, and it's propped up by some massive global industries. First off, you've got the oil and gas sector and petrochemicals, too. Huge consumer.
Right, makes sense. Those are tough environments.
Exactly. Corrosive stuff, extreme temperatures, high pressure. A valve failure there, that's potentially disastrous.
So stainless steel is the go-to.
Pretty much. It's durable, handles the heat, resists the chemicals. It works for, getting the oil out upstream and refining it downstream. And it's not just about fixing old pipes. There's huge investment in new energy projects worldwide. That creates a massive baseline demand.
Okay, oil and gas. What else?
Well, another big area is water treatment and wastewater management. Governments everywhere are pouring money into water purification, sewage systems, and stainless steel valves. They're often the preferred choice.
Why is that?
They last a long time. They're hygienic, which is obviously key for water, and they don't need much maintenance. They're essential for controlling flow safely and meeting all those strict regulations.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Clean water is critical.
Absolutely. And then maybe a bit less obvious, but still huge, the food and beverage industry.
Ah, okay. Hygiene again, I'm guessing?
Exactly. They use stainless steel valves extensively because they're sanitary, they resist corrosion from food products or cleaning agents, and they meet health codes. They have to prevent contamination, and they need to withstand constant, often harsh cleaning. Stainless steel can take it.
Wow, okay. So indispensable across some really vital sectors. Safety, purity, tough conditions. Seems like they're almost the default. But nothing's ever that simple, right? There must be challenges. What's holding back even wider use? Again, the source section is labeled Key Restraints for Smart Home Solutions Market, but the issues it raises feel very industrial.
That's a good point. There are definitely hurdles. The first big one is cost, the initial investment.
Ah, they're expensive.
They tend to be pricier than alternatives like plastic valves or maybe brass ones, especially if you're talking about a really large-scale project.
So that upfront cost could make some companies hesitate, especially with tight budgets.
It certainly can. It might deter adoption in some industries or, maybe in regions where budgets are the main driver. But on the flip side, the long-term value is often there. They last so long, need less fixing, that higher initial cost can actually mean a lower total cost over the valve's lifetime.
Right, the total cost of ownership argument. Makes sense. What else?
Another thing is the complexity. Manufacturing them isn't simple, and customization adds another layer.
How so?
Well, you need sophisticated manufacturing techniques. Think casting, machining, getting the tolerances just right, using specific grades of steel for specific corrosive environments. It requires serious quality control.
So it's precision engineering, basically.
Exactly. And if a customer needs a custom valve for a unique application, maybe a specific pressure rating or a weird connection, that adds complexity to design, manufacturing. It can mean longer lead times and, higher costs for those special versions.
Okay, so cost and complexity. Anything else?
Yeah, one more big one. Volatile raw material costs.
Ah, the price of steel itself.
Well, the price of the ingredients in stainless steel. Nickel, chromium, molybdenum. These are traded on global commodity markets.
And those prices jump around.
They can fluctuate quite a bit, and that makes it really hard for manufacturers to plan production and set stable prices. It creates headaches for them, trying to manage margins, and for the end users, too, trying to budget for big projects when the component costs might change.
That's fascinating. The global commodity market impacting something as specific as a valve. So with these costs and complexities, is innovation still happening? It sounds like it must be. Let's look at the trends. Again, the source calls it Key Trends for Smart Home Solutions Market, but the insights seem much broader. What's changing? What's next?
Oh, absolutely. Innovation is definitely alive and well. One major trend is seeing stainless steel valves used more and more in HVAC systems and, interestingly, renewable energy.
Renewables. How do they fit in?
Well, think about solar thermal plants, geothermal systems, even emerging stuff like hydrogen production. These often involve handling fluids under thermal stress or potentially corrosive conditions. Stainless steel's ability to handle heat and resist corrosion makes it a really good fit there. As the world pushes for green energy and efficient heating and cooling, these valves are becoming more important.
Okay, that's a cool application. What else is trending?
This next one is, I think, really exciting. It's the integration of smart technology, IoT.
Smart valves. So valves connected to the internet.
Basically, yeah. We're seeing a surge in stainless steel valves equipped with sensors, actuators, things that allow for automated monitoring and control.
What does that actually let you do?
Imagine getting real-time diagnostics on how the valve is performing, detecting a tiny leak before it becomes a big problem, or even operating valves remotely.
Wow. So predictive maintenance, better safety.
Exactly. Think about preventing a huge industrial spill because the system flagged a valve that was about to fail. There's potentially millions saved. It fits right into, Industry 4.0, digital transformation. It's happening.
That's a huge leap from just a simple mechanical component.
It really is. And one final trend ties back to what we discussed earlier, sustainability.
Right, the environmental angle.
Yeah. Manufacturers and their customers are focusing more on eco-friendly production, using recycled materials. And stainless steel, it scores well here. It's incredibly durable, meaning less replacement, and it's highly recyclable at the end of its life.
So its inherent properties make it a greener choice.
In many ways, yes.
Yeah.
It positions stainless steel valves really well as a sustainable option, especially in industries where environmental standards and green certifications are becoming, kind of a big deal. It's not just talk anymore, it's driving decisions.
What an incredible journey. We started with this seemingly simple component, the stainless steel valve. And we've seen, okay, yeah, there's a higher cost sometimes, manufacturing can be complex, but they're absolutely vital in huge industries. Oil and gas, water, food and beverage, demand is strong. And they're not standing still either. They're getting smarter, more connected, and fitting into this bigger picture of sustainability. It's really quite dynamic.
It really is. It's fascinating, isn't it, how digging into the details of something like a valve suddenly shows you this whole complex web. Global industries, tech advancements, it just highlights how innovation in one, maybe seemingly small area can have these huge ripple effects across entire sectors, from getting resources out of the ground to managing the water we drink. It's a much bigger story than just a piece of metal.
Absolutely. So maybe next time you turn on your tap or, you drive past a big processing plant, just take a second to think about all those hidden components, like these valves working away quietly, making modern life possible. How many other bits of invisible tech are out there, just fundamentally underpinning everything you do? Something to think about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.